Hello everyone. We are glad you could join us for our presentation on findings and draft recommendations from the Sun-Van Comprehensive Operations Analysis, or COA. For those of you who are unable to attend previous outreach events for the Sun-Van COA, in this presentation we'll provide some background information on why we're doing a COA for paratransit and what the COA involves. We'll also talk about findings from our service analysis and Peer City report, as well as what we heard from the first survey, which was conducted in spring and summer of last year. We'll conclude with draft recommendations, which are split into short-term and long-term recommendations, and we have a brief survey at the end to gather your feedback on these recommendations. So as a refresher, or for those that are unfamiliar, Sun-Van is Tucson's shared ride public paratransit service for people who have a disability that prevents them from using a SunTran bus or the Sunlink streetcar. We have a process to determine eligibility for using Sun-Van, and Sun-Van is provided to all locations within 3/4 mile of a SunTran or Sunlink route during the same time period that those services operate. We also operate a premium service, which is often referred to as optional service, that is offered outside the required service area and for hours outside requirements when available. This map shows the area covered by our complimentary service for the City of Tucson in pink, as well as complimentary service areas for Pima County in green and other jurisdictions. The blue area is where we provide premium service that is not required by law, as it isn't near a SunTran or Sunlink route, but is still within the Tucson city limits. The purpose of the COA is to evaluate current Sun-Van services and policies, identify opportunities for improvements, and propose recommendations for service improvements to better serve Tucson residents. It's worth noting that the Sun-Van COA complements the SunTran COA, which was completed last year and made service recommendations for the city's bus network. The COA is a partnership between the City of Tucson, RATP Dev, which operates Sun-Van and SunTran, and our transit consultant, TMD. We started the COA last spring with round 1 of community meetings and a survey. Last fall, we completed a peer review and the site analysis, and this spring we'll incorporate your feedback on the recommendations to develop a final report this summer before taking the plan to Mayor and Council. As part of our service evaluation, we conducted a peer review of a dozen paratransit agencies at various cities with similar ridership, service area, and population. When compared to peer cities, Tucson uses a larger portion of the transit budget for paratransit, has higher numbers of riders per capita, has a similar rate of productivity, or people served relative to cost, and is cost effective, so the average Sun-Van ride costs less to operate. On the other hand, Sun-Van was found to have lower on-time performance and higher customer cancellations than most peers. The service evaluation also found that ridership and the number of applications has stayed about the same over the past few years going back to 2019, despite the impact from COVID and continued free fares. Through interviews with eligibility office staff and customers, the medical verification process was found to be overly complicated, resulting in suggestions for improvements we'll discuss shortly. The evaluation of the reservation system found that calls take longer than necessary. Many service agencies make multiple trip reservations per call. Trip negotiation is not always used, and pickup times round to every 5 minutes, all of which add up to longer calls and service delays. Sun-Van is not currently meeting on-time performance goals, which are lowest during peak periods such as 9 to 11 a.m. and 3 to 5 p.m. The amount of time passengers spend on Sun-Van trips versus a corresponding SunTran trip exceeds the city's policy about 15% of the time on weekdays. Additionally, while helpful for customers, the 5-minute callouts that dispatchers provide takes away time from critical tasks. We received around 900 responses to our Sunvan survey last year, and the findings echoed what we heard from the service evaluation, that the system is doing very well on cost, comfort, and safety, but is not meeting expectations for on-time performance and ride scheduling. Notably, respondents were unsatisfied with the ability to schedule a ride when you want it, which was also rated as very important for users. Related to this desire for same-day scheduling, around 37% of Sunvan clients use rideshare companies for this purpose, and about half would use a Sunvan affiliated rideshare service if offered. For our draft recommendations, we first want to highlight some items that are low-hanging fruit, short-term ideas, some of which we've already started implementing. This includes better tracking and enforcement of the no-show policy, fixing problems with software, and setting standards for lowering call hold times. Other more immediate ideas include updating call taker and dispatcher training and hiring additional drivers. And in fact, over the past year, the number of drivers have returned to pre-COVID levels. There are approximately 10 to 15 key recommendations for which we are requesting public feedback. These include, under eligibility, simplify the medical verification form and require applicants to provide with the rest of the application for faster processing. Under reservations, offer negotiated trip times, so if rides are requested during peak travel times, an alternative may be suggested to improve on-time performance. Provide pickup windows to the minute rather than rounding to every 5 minutes. While this may seem like a minor change, exact pickups could reduce the delays on the system over the course of many rides and throughout the day. Limit to 4 trip reservations per call to reduce phone lines getting jammed up and to reduce hold time. Implement automated response and/or text options for "Where's my ride?" calls for faster response and to free up reservation staff for other calls. Under operations, implement automated voice response and/or texting for callouts, so when riders are notified that their ride will be arriving in 5 minutes, dispatch callers will be freed up to better monitor service. Change onboard comparability to set specific goals so that less than 5% of trips on Sunvan take longer than their equivalent trip on Suntran plus 25 minutes. Currently, more than 15% of trips exceed this standard. As mentioned previously, the City of Tucson offers premium or optional service outside the required service area and outside the required service hours, which impacts on-time performance for paratransit trips that are required by law. Therefore, we suggest temporarily narrowing this premium service to non-peak times, so before 7 a.m., between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., and after 7 p.m. on weekdays, until on-time and on-board time for the basic service meets standards. We are also recommending negotiation for premium trip rates with social service agencies or to limit calls the same as with other trips. We are also looking into a pilot program for what is being called a new Mobility Choices program, which would allow existing Sunvan clients to use rideshare and ADA accessible ride providers for same-day service and trips outside the Sunvan complimentary service area. This would require a fee to cover the cost of running a new Mobility Choices program, which may be $15 for any distance or $12 if trips are limited to 8 miles or less. Would you be willing to pay for this service or have other thoughts on this or any other recommendations listed here? Please let us know by filling out our brief 10-question survey at suntran.com/sunvancoa. Additional information about future events, reports, and updates on the COA can be found here. This wraps up our presentation for today. Again, please reach out with any questions, and thanks again for your continued support and participation.